Hello, this is Nathaniel Rigo. Welcome back to the movie show. Today we'll be reviewing The Mummy 2017. The Mummy is a 2017 supernatural horror thriller, serving as both a reboot of the titular film franchise with Brendan Fraser Whale, and as the first installment in the Dark Universe Blumhouse film series, which is a rebooted franchise of the classic Universal Monsters, distributed by Universal Studios, Blumhouse Pictures, and the Dark Universe. The film mainly stars Sofia Boutella, Star Trek Beyond, Atomic Blonde, Russell Crowe, Les Miserables, Unhinged, and Annabelle Wallis, Malignant, Annabelle, The Conjuring, with poorly performing actor Tom Cruise, Top Gun, Mission Impossible, War of the Worlds. The film's directed by Alex Kurtzman, and it is set in the present day compared to the original Mummy films, which are set in the 50s through 30s. After 10,000 years of being imprisoned for her crimes in ancient Egypt, the evil mummy Boutella's Queen Amenet, whose name has been purposely removed from literal human history, including textbooks and documents, yet with good reason, is accidentally revived by a treasure hunter named Nick Morton and his friend Malik, played by Cruz and Marwan Kenzari, Aladdin 2019. As a result, the undead former queen of Egypt plots to use Nick as a humanoid vessel for her sinful love life, the Egyptian deity Set, so they can destroy humanity and reshape it as their own oppressive domain. Allying himself with Jennifer Wallace and an identity crisis struggling immortal man named Dr. Henry Jekyll Crow, Morton intends to rid himself of the plague he has wrought upon himself blindly in the first place by defeating Amenet once and for all. In ancient Egypt, the merciless but royally determined daughter of the pharaoh Amenet seeks to become Egypt's first queen, but her path of loyalty and royal persistence to the throne only leads her down a dark path of pure evil and malice when she learns her father's wife, possibly Cleopatra, has birthed a newborn child. Seeing them and her newborn sibling as a threat to her rule, Amenet makes a putrid pact with the death god Set in exchange for the dark powers to destroy him. It requires her soul entirely for such dark godly powers, similar to what Rasputin has done with evil in Anastasia in exchange for the power to eradicate the royal Romanov family, aided by his Bolshevik forces and his small demon minions. Remember, I talked about this in the first season of the movie show Anastasia. The only difference from it is that Amenet knows that her newborn sibling will inherit the throne, not her, while Rasputin seeks revenge this way for his expulsion from the royal family of Russia due to his unholiness and conspiracy with both the Bolsheviks and the occult. Because of her deviant deal with the devilish deity, Amenet murdered her parents and infant relative in their sleep, only to be found out and foiled by Egyptian guards. Before she could even seduce a random man into becoming her god-lover's human vessel, the guards penalized their former queen for the triple homicide by mummifying and sealing her away in a dark and deep imprisoning tomb beneath the sands of the Middle East, precisely 10,000 years later in what's today Iraq. Nick Morton, the film's underrated main protagonist, and Malik attempt to thieve some relics from nearby patrolmen of the Iraqi Republican Guard, IRG. The chase ends with the two discovering a large sinkhole leading right to the tomb prison of Amenet, confronted by a Brit archaeologist, Jennifer Hazley, and the U.S. military. The two men use the map Nick stolen earlier from Jennifer off-screen to explore the tomb. In the tomb, the three discovered the imprisoning sarcophagus of Amenet on account of Nick accidentally raising it by shooting roped relics, keeping it underwater. Then comes out a swarm of camel spiders, one of which bites Malik, which Morton dismisses as not being poisonous, factually inaccurate in the film because in reality, they're highly venomous with one vicious bite. However, unknown to them, Amenet's been awakened subconsciously from her 10,000-year-old imprisonment, and it curses Morton with dreamlike fantasies and delusions. For starters, in the delusions, Morton sees Amenet in human form in the Egyptian desert. She thanks Morton for freeing her without even knowing it. Awakened from the dreamlike hallucination by the military colonel on a military transport plane escorting the exhumed coffin of the mummy queen per Jennifer's request, Morton sees Malik in a dreaded trance as he stabs to death the colonel and other present soldiers under the cursing influence of Amenet. Jennifer opens fire on Malik fatally, and she and Morton eye soaring birds that penetrate the plane, causing to fall out in midair. Amid the airborne chaos, Morton saves Jennifer by sacrificing himself to remain on board at the cost of almost his own life. When the plane crash lands in the heart of rural England, Morton finds himself alive and somehow unscathed in a local morgue, to Jennifer and the coroner's surprise. Meanwhile, 2 Brit cops responding to the plane crash are ambushed at the site by a decomposing Aminette, who literally kisses them to death, and this converts the 2 cops into her mindless and undead followers in the process. At a local bar restroom, Malik, despite his earlier death, shows up to Morton at a human-based hallucination caused by the curse and invites him to go with Jennifer to see her anonymous employer in London for professional help for his curse wrought by Aminette upon him. Traveling to a local church 1 hour outside a nearby town, Morton and Jennifer find a mystical gem, the Eye of Isis, that powers the Dagger of Death, given to Aminette by Set centuries before. There, they are ambushed by Aminette and her newfound followers of undead minions. Having enslaved and undead-style brainwash more victims on the property off-screen, Aminette attempts to claim the gem from the heroes, but they hijack a vacant ambulance deserted by one of the paramedics at the crash site that Aminette has turned into her monstrous follower as well. The chase begins only with Aminette driving Morton and Jennifer back toward her at the church, subconsciously, alternatively. Henceforth, she literally is seeing what Morton is thinking and actually seeing. From there, Morton is almost done in by Aminette when unexpected alternative military reinforcements arrive and sedate her with rope spears, large firearms, and mercury darts. Morton finds out in London that Jennifer has been working for the global covert agency Prometheus, named after the Greek fire god, founded and run by the immortal Dr. Henry Jekyll, who is keeping evil alter ego Mr. Hyde, also played by Crow, all the time. In the dark, in their London HQ, Dr. Jekyll tells Morton of his curse, Jennifer's involvement, and Aminette's plan for Morton, resulting in her centuries-old gruesome goal of world domination. Morton learns from the undead but detained Mummy Queen, confined via injector tubes, injecting excess amount of mercury into her bloodstream to keep her agonizingly sedated, that she's murdered her family because she wanted their love as she loved them back in her day, and this was ruined by the birth of her newborn sibling, prompting her to conspire with Set in ending their lives and almost getting away with it. She also tells Morton that the curse is not to be undone until he fulfills her wishes of serving as Set's human-based vessel to fulfill their plot of global conquest. As Jennifer interrogates Aminette about her hidden intentions at the moment, Morton speaks with Jekyll about being cured of the curse. At the moment, Aminette tells Jennifer that Jekyll intends to do Morton in so he can expose and destroy Set at the cost of Morton's life eternally. Jennifer confronts Jekyll about it, and Jekyll, amid his lacked intention to use his syringe-based medicine to negate his evil half, Mr. Hyde, converts to his namesake evil counterpart as Jennifer escapes with Prometheus gods, and Morton battles Hyde in a brief but epic fight to the death. Aminette uses it to drug the guards into freeing her by having a spider she controls to seduce him into lowering the levels of mercury-feeding tubes, injecting her. Amid the resulting chaos, she escapes by force, while instantly recovering from her internal wounds resulting from the injecting mercury. Jennifer and Morton escape the base as Aminette summons a monster-sized sandstone with her monster's face in the center, literally, destroying most of the city in the process as she pursues the 2 heroes. They escape to the nearby tombs of a late Templar knight, in which Prometheus at the beginning of the film has occupied to further erase any historical evidence of Aminette's existence from the world. There, the guards of Prometheus are overrun by Aminette and her risen undead Templar and Egyptian allies. Located in the subway systems of London secretly, the tombs are then found by Morton and Jennifer. By then, after driving into an underwater cavern, Morton sees Jennifer kidnapped by Aminette and taken to the burial chamber of the Templars. Swimming toward there, Morton confronts the Mummy Queen and her followers of fiendish undead minions, armed with both dagger and the gem, threatening to destroy it. Aminette offers to revive Jennifer if he joins her cause, but instead Morton infuses with and destroys Set by goring himself with a weapon that gives him the dark powers of the Death God. Defeating her minions, Morton confines Aminette forcefully before making out with her fatally. Thus it reverts the Mummy Queen to her decomposed state, lifelessly. By then, Jennifer awakens from being almost suffocated underwater while being kidnapped earlier. After Morton uses the gem to revive her before smashing it. Hidden in the shadows, Morton leaves Jennifer in the custody of her Prometheus allies, barging out of the chamber himself as he is ashamed of his new monstrous form. At the base, with the defeated mummy queen concealed in Mercury and in her coffin for good, Jennifer and Jekyll explain Morton's heroics that have also resulted in Malik being resurrected as well, at the same cost of Amanet's curse plaguing Morton for eternity. Morton, at the last minute, alias Van Helsing, rides with Malik on horses into the Egyptian desert sunset, as their war on evil has only begun. Nick Morton, aka Van Helsing, is a treasure hunter turned heroic monster hunter, who's the underrated main protagonist of the film, aided by Jennifer Hazley and Dr. Henry Jekyll with the late Malik, to defeat Queen Amenet by lifting the curse she's wrought upon him at the beginning. Despite his heroic reputation, Morton's a self-centered and careless young ex-military man from the US who, alongside Malik, thieve, yet liberate treasures worldwide, and it's unclear in the film why he's been kicked off the military from the get-go. But over the course of the movie, he becomes more heroic despite his accidental enactment of freeing and reviving Amenet from centuries-old imprisonment, when he saves Jennifer from a fatal plane crash caused by the swarming birds, symbolic of death and bad luck. Influenced by the curse, gets her to safety in London, at base run by Prometheus, and sacrifices himself to save humanity by merging with and eradicating Set to defeat Queen Amenet for good. Nevertheless, the character has been poorly designed and performed by the worst Hollywood actor on earth, Tom Cruise, infamous for other flopped movies including the failing Mission Impossible movies and those of Top Gun. But he's the only bad thing about The Mummy, as it is the second time such a poor actor has been in hit blockbuster films. The first time was 2005's War of the Worlds, with Dakota and/or Elle Fanning and others, directed by Steven Spielberg. They should at least have made either Jennifer or Jekyll the main heroes of the film, not Morton. There's also Queen Amenet, the film's main villain of the same name, nicknamed the Mummy, a former heir to the throne of her pharaoh father, and then 10,000-year-old monstrous mummy queen seeking revenge upon mankind through Morton, as she intends to use him as her godly love life's mortal body, perfected and greatly performed by the portrayal of Sofia Boutella, just as Arnold Vosloo and Jet Li have as the Egyptian Chinese mummies Imhotep and the Emperor, aka Emperor Hun, the Dragon Emperor in the Mummy Trilogy, 1999 to 2008. Amenet's the first Universal monster icon to be gender swapped, and she's also the first female monstrous main antagonist in a Dark Universe and Blumhouse Pictures film. She even tops Boris Karloff's Imhotep in the Titanian classic Mummy film released in the 30s. Aided by her deity love life, the film's ominous secondary villain, Set, the Egyptian god of death, Amenet seeks retribution for her royal rule, jeopardized by the birth of her newborn sibling, gender unknown in the film, by pacting with the evil god before murdering her family in sleep, which includes singular infanticide. Seeing them as an obstacle in the way of her goals of conquest and monarchy, Amenet is yet imprisoned for her immoral crimes by the Egyptian gods, and 10,000 years later, she's accidentally reborn by Nick Morton, resulting in her cursing the hero until he serves his purpose as Set's human vessel, but with the right intentions in the end, destroying Set in the process. Amenet is the living, symbolic embodiment of evil, death, morbidity, revenge, immorality, and non-ethics toward others between her family and her present-day enemies, mainly Nick Morton. Amenet has enacted various devilish acts of deviancy, from tempting Malik into ending U.S. soldiers on a flying military aircraft to sending bird swarms to crush the plane, fruitlessly ending both Morton and Jennifer, to engulfing London in a deadly and mystically monstrous sandstorm while pursuing Morton and Jennifer to the underground subway tunnels as hidden burial chambers of the Templars. No doubt that despite her defeat at the film's end, she's to return in the Dark Universe Cinematic Universe film series, affiliated with Blumhouse since 2020's The Invisible Man, especially in the titular film sequel, Amenet. In fact, she is to return also in the 4K 4D converted revamp of The Bride of Revenge of the Mummy at Universal Studios, based on the titular hit 2017 movie, that she's to reprise her role as the main antagonist for the ride, reprised by Boutella. The other main hero of the film is Jennifer, who's iconic more than Morton. Compared to Morton, Jennifer is a caring, determined, and heroic archaeologist working for the Prometheus organization and purging the world of evil, especially Amenet, when Morton blindly revives her on sight. Plus, she aids Jekyll and Morton in defeating the curse by subduing Amunet forever. At first, she's bitter toward Morton for thieving a map from her hotel room in Iraq off-screen to the underground tomb of Amunet, but changes instantly when Morton saves her life by sacrificing himself almost amid a plane crash caused by the curse he's been infected with by Amunet. Through the rest of the film, she aids Morton in getting him to London with the Dagger of Death and the Eye of Isis both in his possession since their prior fight with Amunet at a church in rural England. Jennifer represents persistence, courageousness, heroism, and compassion as much as Morton does partially. Dr. Henry Jekyll is the film's secondary protagonist, unlike his evil alter ego Morbius Hyde, aka Mr. Hyde, the film's minor antagonist, because he aids and supports Jennifer and Morton alongside his organization as they're up against Amunet and her putrid plot of world conquest, influenced by revenge and dominant malice upon the human race as a whole. In one scene, however, he's stopped by Jennifer from doing Morton in to destroy Set and the curse with them both. It's then he converts to Morbius Hyde, whom Morton briefly battles and subdues before escaping with Jennifer to the streets of London during Amunet's following escape. Compared to Mr. Hyde, however, Jekyll shows compassion and pity for his allies, including Morton and Jennifer, for the bright future of humanity threatened by Amunet. Despite the minor screen time involving the two characters of different aliases and allegiances, scary as Amunet is, Hyde is just twice as scary when he's trying to end Morton for a different reason than Dr. Jekyll. Between his black skin and hair, glowing yellow eyes of evil and crooked sharp teeth, Hyde's a perfective depiction of one of the titular characters from the classic novel Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Different from the source material, not only are those characters immortal for their present-day designs, but also their backstories are not explained at all in the film. Regardless, they're each a magnificent character with two diverse personalities of good and evil. In fact, one of the future Blumhouse and Dark Universe films remaining in development is that to come may serve as a titular novel-based prequel to The Mummy, explaining the whole story of how Dr. Jekyll alongside his malicious alter ego may have come to be, including their rise to immortality and Jekyll's first ownership of Prometheus over the centuries that followed. As for the minor characters, they include Malik and Set mainly. It's uncredited who has played Set somehow, but he still plays a pivotal and minor role in the movie, as Amunet's love life and lustful ally in their pact of evil to ensure the apocalypse masterminded by the two lethal lovebirds. Despite being a minor character as well, Set's the scariest character next to Amunet and Hyde, also regardless of minor screen time he has. He intends to use Morton as his human vessel to ensure his and Amunet's apocalyptic dominance upon mankind. This is soon foiled when Morton merges with and destroys the death deity to defeat Amunet and save Jennifer. On the other hand, Malik's the film's minor and tragic hero, in light of his minor screen time from aiding Morton and Jennifer in exhuming the coffin of Amunet from Iraq in the present day, to being fatally shot by Jennifer after he murders a few military men on the aircraft under the infamous influence of Amunet, and the curse he's inflicted with Morton, to being resurrected for the last 5 minutes of the film to aid Morton, alias then Van Helsing, as he masters his monstrous form and embraces his newfound dark powers at the cost of defeating Amunet once and for all, played by the same actor who has iconically done Jafar in the hit 2019 live-action remake of the 1992 animated Disney movie Aladdin. Malik, in between events of the film, supports Morton in going with Jennifer in ridding himself and mankind of the threat of Queen Amunet and the curse she's plagued him with entirely, despite his earlier but temporary death. The Mummy has the phrase involved, curiosity killed a cat, in which case Morton is incapable of leaving things alone, and it's what got him in his ordeal with Amunet in the first place. Morton's a former military man and a treasure-hunting thief before he becomes the famed monster hunter North Van Helsing at the end of the film for his heroic action to make up for his mistakes and misguided deeds throughout. On the other hand, Jennifer and Jekyll with Malik care for Morton despite his obvious insecurities. The violent and scary content in the film shows a monster-sized sandstorm engulfing and destroying London, characters being shot at, gored, darted out cold, literally kissed to death, physical combats, a plane crashing, swimming birds piercing the plane beforehand, and minor characters being converted into undead minions of the film's main villain. An infant child is murdered along with its conceiving parents in their sleep off screen. Undead characters, rats, and camel spiders threaten the main protagonists and others. Most of all, depictions of a decomposing corpse. There are even some jump scares involved. There are some depictions of gender-based activity. For instance, partially nude and clothlessness, as in women and men, each clothless. A male character is partially clothless in the mug. Brief flirting is entailed. There are some gender-based references included, and there are even some characters bare-bodied in bed. The language in the film includes the S word, the AH word, the son of a B word, the D word, the H word, and oh my god. There's not much product placement in the film despite its marketing campaign, but in reality, tied in with this, Universal Studios Blumhouse Pictures indirectly until 2020, the Dark Universe brand and other brands helped fruitfully market the film. For example, a VR experience based on the plane scene in the movie, exclusively in Las Vegas for a limited time. The main characters drink excess amounts of booze, but don't end up anywhere in the film intoxicated. For these reasons, The Mummy shall definitely scare the living daylights out of you, for sure, and I highly recommend it to age groups from teen to adults, especially horror fan. Death is only the beginning. Thanks for tuning to the movie show. Next time we'll be reviewing, discussing The Swan Princess.